we're super concerned about the way the rest of the world sees Africa and about the way the rest of the world engages with Africa. But we also know that the responsibility for changing that starts with ourselves, and that's why we're working with storytellers to shift narratives about the continent, to push out nuanced content and contemporary content about the continent, and not to say that what people hear about the continent, poverty, corruption, diseases, are totally false. But what we're trying to let storytellers do is to tell an alternative story, tell a different message, and to say that this is not all there is to the continent. There is much more to the continent of Africa and the people of Africa. There is progress, there is innovation, there is sense of community. There are groundbreaking discoveries happening across the continent. And there's a whole lot that we can brag about in terms of our potentials and the value we have to offer to the rest of the world. So as much as we've got those deficits, we've got those negativities, for every one negativity, there are several other positives that we can, but this is not to diminish the fact that we've got these deficiencies around. And part of our job as an organization is not to turn a blind eye to what these challenges are. Part of what we do as an organization is to engage policymakers. We engage policymakers through several touch points, because policymakers and the public sector have a very huge, significant responsibility in terms of turning around, shifting priorities to the kind of things that can facilitate intra-African trade. A lot of knowledge about the continent of Africa comes from pop culture. A lot of people who have not stepped foot into Africa get to know about Africa through the films, either the Nollywood film or the films from other African countries, right? A lot of people who have not stepped foot into the continent build their perceptions about Africa from Afrobeats, from what Burna Boy does, from what Davido does, like from what they see young people imitating the musicians and the celebrities doing, right? So there's a lot of influence that the creative industry players and the media